You wake up tired even after a full night's sleep. There's a tightness in your chest for no clear reason. You go to work, talk to people, do what needs to be done, but inside, it feels like something is always about to go wrong. And the worst part? You can't quite explain why. Anxiety doesn't scream, it whispers, it hides in habits and relationships and decisions we don't normalize. Time goes by and you get used to that constant discomfort and call it adulthood. But it's not. In this video, you'll discover 7 real reasons why you might be stuck in a state of constant anxiety. And maybe, for the first time, you'll see that it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to change. Let's start with one of the most invisible and most common roots of anxiety: the people around you. 1. The influence of toxic friends and family. Ever notice how your mood shifts depending on who you're with? Sometimes you leave a family gathering or hang out with a friend feeling heavier, more irritated, or carrying guilt you can't quite place. That's not a coincidence. That's emotional contamination. Anxiety can be triggered or worsened by toxic relationships that masquerade as love and concern, or true friendship. People who subtly tear you down with a smile, who make offhand comments that chip away at your self-esteem, who demand your time and energy but are never really there for you. Toxic family, for example, is one of the most overlooked sources of anxiety. We're raised to believe family is everything, and that you must respect your parents above all. But respect isn't the same as submission. If you grew up in an environment where your feelings were dismissed, where criticism was constant, where shouting, guilt trips, or emotional neglect were normal, your body learned the world isn't safe. That internal alarm doesn't just shut off with age, it keeps ringing even when there's no danger. Toxic friendships work the same way. That one friend who always needs you but vanishes when you need them, who competes with you, who reacts coldly to your wins, or even belittles them. Your body feels it, your mind registers it, but we rationalize that's just how they are and they're going through something. And just like that, we start tolerating the intolerable. Being around emotionally unbalanced or manipulative people leaves scars. They make you doubt yourself, and over time your confidence fades. You start asking, am I overreacting? Am I the problem? Should I just tough it out? This constant doubt feeds anxiety, because you never feel safe to just be yourself or you express how you feel. And here's the kicker. The cycle often repeats. You cut off one toxic person and somehow attract another just like them. Why? Because your brain is hooked on the chemical chaos of anxiety. It's used to instability, conflict, and the absence of peace. But there is a way out, and it starts with awareness. It starts when you realize that being surrounded by people isn't the same as feeling supported, that someone loving you doesn't give them the right to hurt you, that you have the right to silence, distance, and to rebuild your boundaries. It starts when you realize that choosing peace isn't selfish, it's self-care. 2. Working a job you hate. Few things drain your mental health more than spending most of your life doing something that doesn't motivate you, represent you, or even harms you. But that drain doesn't always feel dramatic. It's quiet. It shows up as chronic fatigue, as a constant urge to escape without knowing where to go. When you hate your job, your mind and body live in a permanent state of alert. You wake up already counting the hours until you can go home. Sundays turn to a sad countdown to Monday. Week after week, month after month, dissatisfaction becomes your new normal, and you start to believe that's just life, that everyone hates their job, that this is how it's supposed to be. But it's not. Your job doesn't have to be your passion, but it also shouldn't be your biggest anxiety trigger. The truth is, many of us were pushed into paths we never chose. Parental pressure, financial stress, fear of taking risks. So you enroll in a major you don't like, land a job that pays the bills, and suddenly, you're building a life that doesn't feel like yours. And the bill comes due, in the form of anxiety attacks disguised as burnout. In physical symptoms, chest pain, ulcers, insomnia, shortness of breath, your body starts screaming what your mind is afraid to admit, that you're living out of alignment with yourself. Worse still is when your job is toxic too. A cutthroat environment, a fear-driven boss, coworkers who use cruelty as jokes. In that setting, anxiety doesn't just settle in, it thrives, because you feel trapped. And what does that create? A cycle. You feel stuck, but you're scared to change. You have ideas, dreams, ambitions, but you think it's too late, that it won't work, that it's safer to settle. And while you stall, the anxiety grows. You lose touch with who you really are. But here's what most people miss. Your dissatisfaction isn't being dramatic. It's a message. It's your body saying something needs to change. And no, you don't need to drop everything and backpack across the world, but you do need to start listening to yourself. Maybe it's a career shift. Maybe it's revisiting an old interest and studying on the side. Maybe it's changing departments. But the key is this: you have choices. You always do. And even if change takes time, it starts the moment you realize you deserve more than just surviving until your next vacation. Anxiety isn't always the problem. Sometimes it's the alarm. And ignoring that alarm, it can cost you. 3. Excessive worry about the future. An anxious mind has a pattern. It's always a few steps ahead, constantly trying to predict, control, and prevent what hasn't even happened yet. And at first glance, that might seem smart. After all, better safe than sorry, right? Not necessarily. It starts as being cautious. You want to plan, avoid problems, stay stable, but eventually that caution morphs into paranoia. Your mind keeps spinning. What if I lose my job? What if I can't pay the bills? What if my health declines? What if everything falls apart? You go into survival mode and forget how to live. This kind of thinking isn't just exhausting, it's paralyzing. Because when everything feels like a potential threat, any step feels too risky. So you don't take it, you don't try something new, don't change directions, don't speak up. You're always bracing for a future disaster that may never come. And the cruel twist? The more you try to control the future, the more powerless you feel. Deep down, you know life can't be controlled. It's unpredictable. Trying to force certainty is like grilling sand. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips away. This anxiety is fed by a culture that sells the illusion of control. Quick success, financial stability, a 5-year plan, a secure retirement. Then you look at your messy, uncertain, unpredictable life and feel like a failure. That breeds guilt, shame, and frustration. But here's the truth. There's no such thing as a risk-free life. Total certainty doesn't exist. And trying to live like everything can be planned, that's a recipe for chronic anxiety. The way out? Realize the future isn't your enemy. It's neutral. Yes, it may bring pain, but it can also bring growth, relief, unexpected joy. The goal isn't to stop thinking about the future. It's to stop sacrificing your peace for fears that aren't real yet. So breathe. Look around. What can you actually do today? What's really within your control? Sometimes one small, real action in the present is worth more than 1,000 hypothetical worst-case scenarios. And remember, worrying doesn't prevent pain. It just makes you suffer in advance. 4. You care too much about what others think of you. Fear of judgment is one of the cruelest anxiety triggers because it turns life into a constant performance. And living on a stage 24/7? It's exhausting. You exist more as an image than as a person. Every step, every choice, every word, calculated for how others might react. And in that role, you lose sight of who you really are. This usually starts early. We grow up hearing, "Oh, that looks bad. What will the people think?" Don't embarrass the family. Little by little, we learn that being accepted matters more than being authentic. That pleasing others is more important than expressing ourselves. We internalize an invisible judge, always watching, never satisfied. That judge shows up when you get dressed, post a photo, share an opinion, or say no. You think twice, or 10 times. And even when you act, you replay it endlessly. Was I rude? Did I go too far? Did they think I'm weird? This constant self-monitoring eats away at your mental energy. That's called social anxiety. But it gets deeper. When you care too much about others' opinions, your life decisions stop being yours. You choose a degree because it's respectable. Stay in dead-end relationships. Hold back ideas out of fear of sounding silly. You hide. And the worst part? Even if you do everything right, people will still judge you. Because they're projecting their own fears and frustrations. Living to please is a prison. And ironically, it doesn't even make you feel safe. Because image-based acceptance is fragile. One mistake, one slip, and it can all fall apart. Then comes the panic, and the need to explain, to fix, to apologize. Anxiety takes over, not as a protection, but as constant exhaustion. Freedom begins with one simple question. Do you like who you are when no one's watching? If not, you might be living for an audience that isn't really paying attention. Here's the hard, but freeing truth. People think about you far less than you imagine. Everyone's caught up in their own world, their own fears. Once you realize that, you start to see that being judged is inevitable. But being true to yourself, that's a choice. Anxiety spikes every time you betray yourself for approval, but it also eases every time you choose authenticity, even if it ruffles some feathers. 5. You have a negative mindset. No one's born thinking negatively. Pessimism is learned. It sneaks in through pain, experiences, and the stories you were told about yourself and the world. But over time, it becomes a lens. You start seeing everything through it, expecting the worst from yourself, others, and life. But this isn't just a bad habit, it's a defense mechanism. If you expect things to go wrong and they do, you feel prepared. The hurt comes, but at least it's not a surprise. Negativity becomes your armor. Heavy, uncomfortable, but protective. The problem is, that armor also blocks joy, spontaneity, and connection. People with negative thinking patterns constantly anticipate disaster. A message left unread means rejection. A mistake at work proves you're a failure. A disagreement signals abandonment. Everything gets interpreted in the darkest way possible. Not because you want to think like that, but because your brain learned it's safer to expect the worst. But your body doesn't know it's just a thought. It reacts as if the threat is real. Your heart races, your breathing changes, your stomach tightens. Anxiety is born right there, in the space between what is and what your mind believes is. And here's the kicker. Negative thinking can be addictive. It gives you a false sense of control. If I expect everything to go wrong, I won't be disappointed. But the price? Living in constant tension, even when things are fine. And often that negativity turns inward. You sabotage yourself before you even try. Blame yourself for small things. Doubt your worth, even when there's proof you're doing well. The more you think like this, the more your brain reinforces that pathway. Like a groove worn into the ground, you just keep walking the same anxious loop. But here's the game changer. Thoughts aren't even facts. Just because your brain says something doesn't make it true. The first step in breaking the cycle? Start questioning your conclusions. Why am I thinking this way? Is there actual evidence? Could there be another explanation? That curiosity creates space. And in that space, you gain the power to choose. A healthier mindset doesn't mean ignoring problems. It means seeing them with balance. Knowing that bad things do happen, but so do good things. And you? You're more than your thoughts, your fears, or your past mistakes. You won't silence a negative mind overnight, but with practice, presence, and self-compassion, it loses its grip. And when that happens, anxiety fades, because the world stops looking like a battlefield and starts feeling like a place where you can breathe. 6. You're physically inactive. The connection between body and mind is stronger than we think. When your body stops, your mind starts screaming. Sedentary living, this quiet physical stagnation, has a massive silent impact on your emotional health, especially your anxiety. Maybe you never linked the two. What does skipping exercise have to do with feeling on edge, racing thoughts, or insomnia? The answer lies in brain chemistry. Movement releases powerful mood-regulating chemicals. Endorphins, dopamine, serotonin. These are what help you feel focused, calm, and emotionally balanced. Now picture a body that sits all day in front of a screen, soaking up stress with zero physical outlet. That body stores up energy, but not in a good way. It's anxious energy. Tension that has nowhere to go, turning into restlessness, irritability, racing thoughts, and lack of focus. Inactivity also messes with your breathing. When you move less, you tend to breathe poorly, fast, shallow, high up in the chest. That sends a danger signal to the brain, triggering anxiety even if there's no threat. It doesn't stop there. Sedentary habits mess with your sleep, digestion, immunity, and self-esteem. It's a domino effect. When your body shuts down, your system enters power save mode. And your brain interprets that as vulnerability. The sense of danger, even if unconscious, only grows. But here's the good news. You don't need to become an athlete to break this cycle. It's not about performance, it's about movement, getting your body out of stillness, even in simple ways. A 20-minute walk, dancing around your house, taking the stairs, stretching, conscious deep breathing. Every small move sends your brain a powerful message. We're alive. We're safe. we're okay. That message can calm your thoughts, settle your emotions, and give you back a sense of control. Anxiety isn't just a mental issue, it's a physical response to a dysregulated environment, inside and out. And sedentary living is a major part of that dysregulation. It drains your vital energy and traps you in a bubble of toxic thoughts. You deserve to break free here. And the first step, literally, is a step. Movement sparks change, both inside and out. 7. You live in constant alert, even when things seem fine. This is anxiety's quietest trap, being stuck in a high alert mode. Even in moments of rest, even when everything's okay, your mind is scanning for danger. Like there's a low volume alarm inside you, always going off. And the worst part? You've gotten used to it. This state is called hypervigilance, and it doesn't come out of nowhere. It's usually the result of trauma, instability, or years spent feeling like something could go wrong at any moment. Sometimes it starts in childhood, always having to adapt to other people's moods. Sometimes it's a toxic relationship, an accident, or simply emotional chaos over time. The source varies, but the effect is the same. Your body learned that staying alert is safer than relaxing. But here's the problem. Your nervous system wasn't built for that. Living in survival mode burns through your mental and physical resources. You end up with chronic fatigue, insomnia, poor memory, trouble focusing, and above all, a constant, vague sense of dread. Maybe your life is fine now. But anxiety doesn't respond to your current situation. It responds to what your body believes is happening. And if your body carries years of built-up tension and unresolved fear, it can't tell the difference between a real threat and an old memory. That's why so many people live like they're under attack, when no one's attacking. It leads to isolation, avoidance, racing hearts, and difficulty enjoying anything. Because your brain is always trying to protect you, even if there's nothing to run from. But here's the most important part. This state isn't permanent. Your nervous system can be retrained. It can slowly relearn what safety, presence, and peace feel like. Things like meditation, conscious breathing, yoga, body-centered therapy, even simple moments of stillness and reflection can start rewiring that pattern. And no, this isn't fluffy self-help talk. It's neuroscience. Your body needs to experience safety to believe in it. Anxiety stops being a prison the moment you show your body it doesn't have to fight or flee anymore. That now it's safe to rest, to live, to be. And the first step, realizing that constant alertness isn't normal, it's just familiar. Anxiety isn't weakness, it's not just in your head. It's a signal. Your system telling you that something's out of alignment. Whether it's your relationships, your work, your habits, or your thoughts, you don't have to fight anxiety like an enemy. You need to listen to it. It's trying to protect you, even if in a messy, confusing way. And each of these 7 causes is a doorway, a chance to understand what's really going on underneath your symptoms. If this video spoke to you, drop a comment. Which of these reasons hit home the most for you? Sometimes just naming what we feel is the start of real healing. Your journey doesn't have to be fast. It just has to be real.